Welcome, everyone, officially to the event today. I'm Dave Rosendahl from Mindfire, and I'm going to be your moderator for what we think is going to be one of the most valuable hours or so, maybe a little bit more than an hour, that you're going to spend this month. And here's why I say that. USPS is offering up to 30% in postage credits through the Mail Growth Incentive. And based on the questions that came in when you registered, there's still a lot that you all are wondering about this program. So my job today in this session is, by the time we wrap up the hour, at the very least, that you'll be smarter about the program and how it works than when you came in the room today. But our real hope collectively here is that by the end of the session, you're on your path to registration, whether it's you as a mail owner, a brand, if you're doing direct mail like Kim, or if you're with a print service provider and servicing customers. You've got a very tight time window here before the registration period ends. So you want to make sure that you're paying attention and take advantage of this. We're going to tell you how to do that today. But before I go on, I want to know who's here for the first time in one of these webinars with us. Drop a 1 in the chat if this is your first time. Who's here for the first time in one of these Sylvamo webinars? 1. Okay, cool. We got some first timers, AJ. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, welcome, folks. Thanks for being here. For those of you who are new, this is actually our 11th in the series here. I can't believe, AJ, that it's number 11. That's amazing. But for all of you who are here for the first time, I want to make sure you know that we run these a little bit differently. As you can tell, we're very interactive. When you stay to the end of the session, we're also going to give you a set of resources, recordings, prior sessions, all designed to help you maximize these postal promotions. So not only are we going to be weaving your voice into today's conversation, not only are we going to be making available to you additional resources towards the end, but we're also going to give you insight into the next webinar, which is actually about the 2027 postage promotions. Chris is going to touch on that just briefly today, but there's a lot that this series brings to you that we want to make sure you're plugged in to be able to get in the future. Now, without further ado, let me introduce the panel today that I have with us. If you look at your screen, first up is Kim Hasselback. I know, Kim, there's a little disagreement there within your family as to how your last name is pronounced. Hopefully I'm on the right side of the family there. Kim is Director of Enterprise Print Management, and like many of you, she's a self-described print and postage nerd with over 25 years in a bunch of different industries: retail, finance, sports, publishing, and now healthcare. She's based in Alpharetta, Georgia. And what I learned is that she's on a mission to visit every Major League Baseball park with her family. Kim, welcome, but I'm curious, how many have you actually visited thus far?
Yeah, thanks for having me here, guys, today. We've been big baseball family. We're visiting all the parks so far. We're just about halfway there, about 14 right now, and we have 2 more planned for the summer. We're heading to Minnesota to see the Twins, and we're also heading to Milwaukee to see the Brewers. So 2 more this summer that we'll knock off.
Have you been to California to visit any of our teams here?
Not yet. My husband and I have been, but we haven't been with the kids, so not officially.
Okay. All right. Well, the invitation's open here whenever you want to visit.
All right.
Next up is Steve Mills from the from USPS. Steve is Director of Mailing Services at USPS with over 20 years driving strategy across first-class mail, marketing mail, catalogs, periodicals, and the incentives that go along with them. So if you're a mailer, Steve is really on your side, folks, and we're grateful, Steve, that you're spending time with us today. And what I learned about Steve is that when he's not working to improve your direct mail, he's either scuba diving or making pottery. So, Steve, welcome. How are you this morning?
Doing great. Glad to be here.
Thank you, Steve. And of course, someone who doesn't need an introduction, but I will introduce him anyways, Mr. Chris Lee, EVP of Industry Affairs at BCC Software and Chairman of the National Postal Forum. Chris is an advocate for this industry, for the mail service providers in the room. For those of you who are involved in mail, print and postage geeks, and he's helped countless organizations navigate the regulations and maximize the incentives and the promotions that we're talking about today. Chris, you're really our voice with USPS leadership, and just thrilled to have you back with us. Chris, welcome, and how do we find you today?
Well, thank you very much, Dave. I always thrilled to be on these webinars and ready to bring some postal passion to the conversation today. I am currently in beautiful Minnesota, don't you know, and just enjoying the nice warm weather we have here. So thank you.
It's great to see you as always, Chris. And of course, meet AJ from Sylvamo. Sylvamo and AJ are actually sponsoring the event today. AJ has around 20 years in the paper industry across logistics, marketing, sales, and she's equally passionate about helping brands communicate more effectively with their consumers, with their customers, the print service providers, understand how to help them service their customers better. And she's actually the reason we're all here. This entire series is really her brainchild because, as I said, she's recognized that there's an appetite across the industry for more of this knowledge to make every dollar that you're spending on direct mail or that your customers are spending on direct mail go further. Now, the fun fact about AJ is she's an avid reader. If you follow her on LinkedIn, maybe Carissa, you can drop AJ's LinkedIn profile there in the chat. But if you follow her on LinkedIn, she has a weekly book recommendation that she'll let you know about. AJ, are you reading those books on paper or in digital?
Well, paper, of course. And actually, I'm reading a book this week called The Devil Emails at Midnight. And I'm working with the Women in Print Alliance. And we'll be hosting a book club in June. And I will actually get the honors of interviewing the female author. So
Wow.
A fun little fact.
Are dudes allowed at that, or is that women only?
I think it's women only.
Okay. Well, then, Chris, you and I are going to have to start one for dudes, okay?
Okay.
All right, folks. So that's your panel today. And of course, behind the scenes, we have a full team here answering questions, including Robbie from USPS. I mentioned this to those of you who were here a bit early. Open up chat in Zoom. If you just jumped in the room, please open up chat. That's where we're conversing back and forth. I want to make sure you all have a chance to see each other and to ask questions and be interactive in the chat. But if you have a question specifically for Steve or for Kim, AJ, Chris, as we get into the meat of the material today, I want you to use the Q&A. And that's another option there in your Zoom toolbar, which allows you to enter in your question. And then the community here, the other folks that are here in the room, can upvote those questions so that the most important ones rise to the top. All right? And so with that, we've got the housekeeping out of the way. Is everyone ready to get started? Give me a yes in the chat if you're ready. I see the room has filled up. We've got Don, Darcy, Dan, Eli, Ethan is here. Give me a yes if you're ready to go. Meredith's got a yes with a smiley face. Somebody give me a yes with some exclamation marks. Come on. I see Sunny, Kevin, Katie's ready. All right, there we go. Carolina, thank you for that. Well, Chris, let's get into it. Before we bring Steve on and we dig into the Mail Growth Incentive.
Yeah.
Chris, what I want to do is I want to zoom out for a minute here.
Sure.
A lot has happened in the industry over the last couple of months. We had the National Postal Forum, which just wrapped up. There's, of course, new leadership at USPS. And I think there's some real signals that show us kind of where things are headed. And I don't think there's anybody better than you to walk us through that. Take us away kind of what happened at NPF, what we learned there, and some of the new insights that the folks here, I think, are hungry to learn.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Dave. You know, NPF is just absolutely amazing to me. It is the premier event each year where, you know, we all come together, and boy, did we do that in Phoenix. You know, over 5,000 total attendees, you know, 981 postal employees. So if you were at Phoenix, you had a great opportunity to interface with our postal partners, to understand what's going on, to talk about your business concerns, and to really make sure that, you know, you've walked away from that feeling educated, engaged, connected. That's what it's all about. The exhibit hall, 213 exhibiting companies. Dave, that's the biggest exhibit hall for NPF since the mid-90s. And when I think about, you know, growth, and I think about opportunity for the industry and getting your voice heard and seeing the new technology, to have an exhibit hall of those kind of numbers and that response, and many of those were brand new, by the way. 75, I think, out of those were first-time exhibitors at NPF. What an amazing indication with it that there is growth and opportunity in this mailing industry. Of course, 120 workshops, that's what a lot of people come to NPF for, is the education part of it. That is our core mission. And we had a lot of new speakers, and I love that. I told Karen McCormick, our executive director, I said, I want new voices to the chorus of the community, right? To talk about how they're using mail in innovative ways, maybe talk about how they're combining physical and digital together. And I rolled out on stage Phygital, right? So Dave, you and I have been talking about, let's get Phygital. So I rolled that out on stage and said, that's our challenge and our opportunity. We also had young minds there too. And I love this. We did this in Nashville last year. We're doing it again here in Phoenix. And I see a lot of great growth with this. Margaret Pepe's team is just phenomenal in how they listen to the industry and encourage people to come into our industry. So we were able to put our arms around 80 plus students from 5 different schools as they competed together to build compelling campaigns that leverage that value of mail. And then the other thing that I thought was really cool, just a bit of a shout out to my day job colleagues over at BCC Software, where they put together a pretty cool passport. I've seen something on a small scale like this at some PCCs and some of their events, but the way that this was done, yeah, thanks for the visual. Yeah, absolutely. It's a fold out that sort of walks the person through the exhibit hall, highlighting different companies and technologies along the way as we go on that journey from data through delivery, and who all are the stakeholders in this ecosystem. And that's an important word, and I'll talk about that in the next slide, but just a way to be able to sort of visually connect the dots of how the mail preparation works and all the different stakeholders that are all involved with that. And you on this webinar, you're a stakeholder, you're part of that community. So it was really cool with that. And then finally, postal vignettes, that was brand new this year, something that near and dear to Karen McCormick's heart. That was very, very cool, showcasing that mail journey and mail moment. A lot of people took advantage of that. So if you did not get a chance to attend in Phoenix, please, please, please mark your calendar for next year. We're going to the House of Mouse in Orlando, Florida, and we are going to be at the Marriott World Center. And I already told Karen, I said, listen, if we had over 5,000 attendees at Phoenix, 5,700 in Nashville, I want to see over 6,000 right in Orlando. So folks, mark your calendar. Don't miss out.
Yeah.
You want to be part of this. It's going to be a big event.
Heck yeah. I see Annalise. Hey, Annalise, Southeastern exhibited at MPF, and it was fantastic. That's great to hear that. Good. Yeah, that's really cool. So I see some first timers from MPF. I was there, my first one. Yeah, a lot of people were there. That's awesome. Well, Chris, one of the things that stood out to me about MPF this year was, I'm a feelings guy. I tend to feel things. And I felt that there was a change in the tenor and kind of how the room felt when we heard from USPS leadership, specifically from Dave Steiner. And so I'm wondering if you can bring everyone current from your point of view on what you heard and what you felt there relative to how USPS is embracing industry.
Yeah, I think we kind of touch a little bit on the next slide is the PMG Steiner did a town hall at MPF, and I know that we had had some town halls with Louis DeJoy when he was PMG, and PMG Steiner. I'm glad that they're continuing that. By the way, I think it's a great opportunity to interact directly. I'm hoping that we can build on that to be a little bit more interactive, because I know there was a point where the PMG was saying, I'm asking myself these questions. But to be sure, these are all questions that we as an industry are submitting ahead of time. But the key word that PMG Steiner used was ecosystem. And he underscored that we are all part of this ecosystem. This is not just the Postal Service's delivery network. It's all of our delivery network. And I often think about the Postal Service as a platform upon which we've built our businesses and technologies and opportunities. But we really are all together, shoulder to shoulder ecosystem, from paper to pixels now, paper to pixels, right? All of this stuff together. And it creates an opportunity that all of us can help to survive and thrive as we go forward with the increased value of mail. And as we go forward to July, next month, we're going to see some changes, right? And these are necessary changes for the Postal Service as they continue to right-size their business, but also opportunities for us to leverage that value of mail. We're seeing changes in mail preparation that moves sort of away from the traditional class concept into more of a shape, right? And how is this piece going to fit together with others so we can optimize the network? And that optimized network is a continuation of what started with the Delivering for America plan, but continues to move forward into a true and proper hub and spoke network. And that's really the correct way to think about it from a logistics aspect. Love that the Postal Service is working with the industry in the Mail Reimagined initiative. It's time to think about, what does mail look like? How can it connect and bind the nation, but how is it relevant? What are some ways that digital experience can begin to manifest itself? And of course, the Postal Service, talk about partnership, right? They're creating promotion incentives, mail growth incentives, which we're going to talk about, but an opportunity to be able to help mailers take advantage of technology and grow mail volume and value. And that's really exciting what they're doing on that. One thing that was a concern for some of the licensees, the NCOA licensees, is a new API technology. And again, kudos to our postal partners in moving forward with some of this API technology, because that's only going to help us be better in terms of our mail preparation and delivery and everything. But there was some question from the Postal Regulatory Commission about the impact on the NCOA Plus API. And so the PRC did not approve that, along with the other things with it, just saying that they need a little bit more time to understand the impact. However, that doesn't mean that we don't have a UAA problem, folks. I want to underscore that. We have to get rid of the undeliverables address. If you want timely, predictable, and ultimate delivery of the mail piece, you need complete, correct, and current addresses. So I encourage my fellow licensees, take a look at these APIs. We need to be looking at how these tools can be added to the stack on that.
So Chris is using words and acronyms, folks, that if you're like, oh, what does he mean by that?
Yeah,
There's no
yeah.
dumb questions here. Please.
Sorry,
Okay?
sorry, Dave.
No, totally fine. I just want to make sure everybody is
Yeah.
able to, ask your questions there in the chat. If you're like, what does UAA mean? Why is it important to me? Don't hesitate to ask. We don't want to assume that everyone's on the same page relative to, what we're talking about here. Now, Chris, we are going to get into the mail growth incentive here in just a moment, but I know there is some breaking news on the postage promotions, a little bit different, but related. Give us the breaking news there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So postal promotions, again, kudos to our postal partners in creating the opportunity, the incentive for the industry to get creative and think about ways that we can connect and engage, excite and delight, right? The end recipient of the mail piece. And we've got some promotions that are going to continue that have proven to be very successful. Integrated technology, what a great way to be able to provide voice-assisted devices with your mail piece. So there's an interactive part of it. Tactile, sensory, interactive, my favorite, right? If I can touch the mail piece, it touches me back. And there's ways that I can have a stimulation of the four senses in the recipient that really underscores that value that piece provides. First-class mail advertising. We used to call that trans promo. The Postal Service has expanded that to be able to take full advantage of the recognized value that first-class mail has, but to carry with it advertising. And the two that I love that they've come out here with as brand new, direct mail discovery. Let's reach out to these through the mail service provider community, and I'm talking to you on this webinar now. Now is the time to think about how do you reach out to that customer that maybe was, kind of left the mail stream a while ago and maybe they're ready to come back, or maybe there's somebody that's new that you can bring back into that. We're talking a significant incentive, right? I don't have the numbers on here. You'll see them soon. 40% discount. 40% discount.
Say it again, Chris, real slow for those in the back.
If you mail up to 5,000 pieces, right? That's sort of that ceiling. You would get a 40% discount off the mail postage, for the mail owner. And here's the kicker, 5% of a credit towards the mail service provider. So if you're a mail service provider, listen up. We're going to have more detailed information on this later, but now is the time to start thinking about how do you encourage net new mail volume that can really benefit everybody with it. Impact messaging, similar thing, how to take advantage of the message that leverages that mail piece. I always think if I can touch it, I can trust it. If I touch that mail piece, it gives me that level of trust, and I can do an impactful message with it. And then, of course, informed delivery, that digital complement, really a free digital impression that goes along with your mail piece. And the most important, sustainability, right? You're using Silvamo paper. You've got that there. You've got that trust with it. You're going to get an additional discount. So, folks, these are huge, huge opportunities. We'll go into more detail in a future webinar. But you need to pay attention to what this opportunity means, especially for you mail service providers, your stakeholders. Let's make this happen.
So there are two things I want to clarify here. The promotions, which Chris just touched on for next year, and the incentives, they get mixed up often. But what Chris just talked about with respect to the promotions there on the right-hand side of the screen, if you look here, we have a webinar July 24th focused specifically on those. So if you want to register for that, drop the word promotions there in the chat just for us to get a sense of how many of you are ready to learn more about that. Drop the word promotions there in the chat. Today's webinar, though, specifically is on the mail growth incentive. And that's why we brought Steve from USPS, who I'm going to bring aboard here on screen here in just a moment. I want to see how many of you are interested in the promotions. Okay, keep dropping that in there in the chat. If you want to be ahead of the game, okay, yeah, I see Joe, Rachel, Natasha, Gina. Okay, fantastic. That's good, folks. So now let's turn our attention to the mail growth incentive, okay? But I'm curious, before we do that, listen up, everybody. I want you to give me a 1 in the chat if this is the first time that you've heard about the Mail Growth Incentive through the promotion, emails, LinkedIn, however you saw about today's event? Is this the first time you're kind of dialed into this? What this is? Wow. Okay, keep it coming, folks. How many of you is this the first time you're hearing about it? Robert says one. Okay, thank you for the ones. That's very helpful there, folks. All right, so then, Steve, that tells me that what we've got teed up here in just a moment is going to be super useful in terms of laying the foundation. But I want, Carissa, I want you to roll the poll, Carissa. Turn your attention to the screen, folks. For those of you who have heard about the Mail Growth Incentive, who have heard about it before, I want to know, have you registered for the Mail Growth Incentive? Take a moment there. I'm going to give you a few seconds to answer the question here. Yes, I'm registered for 2026. No, but I'm considering it. I've received credits before, but haven't registered for 2026. Maybe you're here to help your clients register. Or no, you're not sure. You're still kind of learning. I'm going to give you a few more seconds here. Let's take a look at what we've got here in a couple of seconds. Keep it coming. I still see people voting. Please look at your screen. Give us some feedback here on the poll. Pick the answer option that is best suited for you. Wow, people are still voting here. We got about 52% participation. Carissa, I'm going to leave it up. Let's leave it up for another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, Carissa, let's take a look here real quick. And Steve, this will be helpful for all of us as we get into the heart of the matter today. So it looks like, what do we got here? 27% are registered. 17% say no, but considering it. We got about a quarter of the room here to help their clients, and 23% are not sure. They're still learning. That's fantastic, folks. Thank you for that. And I think, do we have, let's see. No, we have another poll coming up later, right? Yeah, we've got another one coming up in just a moment. Thank you for that, Carissa. So it's helpful with that context then, folks, to now get into the foundation of what MGI is all about. So what I'm going to do here, MGI, by the way, Mail Growth Incentive, us geeks reduce it to MGI. We're going to do two things. Number one, I'm going to have Steve from USPS kind of set the foundation for what it is and give you some of the new insights that you need to know. And then second, I'm going to have Kim give her inside story around lessons learned from actually having used this and kind of what that process looked like for them from the inside. So Steve, you ready to take it away?
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic.
I'm surprised a couple of customers earned credits last year and haven't registered again. It's really simple for those guys because we re-registered, we resubmitted for you. All you have to do is agree to your baseline. But let me get into what the Mail Growth Incentive is all about. Really, we set this up as two incentives, one for marketing mail, one for first class mail. They run simultaneously. They're the same basic idea. It's all about growth. What the value is for both mailers and the Postal Service is really decreasing the cost of mail in the future, right? Reinvesting those postal credits, the postage credits into future mailings, stabilizing your mailing patterns and enable entry into new markets. And I'll show you a couple examples of people who've done that. It also strengthens your relationship with us, right? We know what you're doing, we're communicating with you, and we're working with you on how you can grow your business. So let me just give you an idea what the numbers look like the past couple of years. In 2024, we had 575 businesses who earned 30% on their postage credits, on their growth. That's over $500 million that we gave away to reinvest in the industry, reinvest in mail for the mailers that are really looking to grow, right? In 2025, we did the same thing. It was, again, over 500 mailers earn credits. Again, another $500 million. That's $1 billion over the last 2 years just from the mail growth incentives, right? And we grew mail by over 10 billion pieces over the last 2 years because of these incentives. These are customers that are really looking to grow, looking for ways to grow and reinvest those postage credits back into their business. Instead of cutting their budget, they're adding to their budget with these extra postage credits. These are some customers here that we like to spotlight. There's a furniture retailer, grew by over 3,800%. 3,800% over the last 2 years. They had $3.5 million in postage credits. They reinvested back into their volume in order to increase their reach. There's a consumer lending company. We see a lot of financial services company. There's some of the smaller regional companies that are doing this. Again, they weren't even in the mail. They didn't realize the power of mail that they could add to their digital platforms.
So, Steve, I see questions coming in here. Is this being recorded? Can we get the slides? Yes and yes, folks. Don't worry about that. We will be getting those to you. So, Obama will be getting those to you after the event today. So now, Steve, let's break it down. Tell us, what are the important things that folks need to know about how this program works?
Sure. So the registration period is about to end. So I have to warn you, you have to get your registration in as soon as possible. By the end of this month, at least start the registration. It doesn't mean that you have to finish any conversation if you're not sure about your CRIDs or your total baseline volume. If you're not sure, we still have the month of June to work with you to make sure we can finalize that registration. But you have to start the registration and get it into the my products portal. Sorry.
Yes, there you go.
Have to get into the my products portal so that at least you've started that registration. After the end of this month, we're not accepting any new registrations, and that's so we can work with all the customers that have raised their hand and said, yes, we want to participate, and we can make sure they can participate. A couple of new things that we did this year, like I mentioned earlier, if you were in the MGI 2025 incentives, we automatically resubmitted your registration for 2026. Doesn't mean it's approved. It means you can go in and without having to do anything, you can just make sure that the numbers match and you can agree, and then we'll agree and you'll be all set. It's really a two-step process. Make it as simple as possible. For new customers, again, you have to get that new registration in so that we can talk to you about it. If there's any disparity on what you think your volume is and we think your volume is, we can make sure that that matches up. We also created ability for the mail owner, the registrant, to assign access rights. So we heard this loud and clear from the industry, especially from the MSP industry, part of the industry, that they want to be able to see what's going on with their customers. If they're helping their customers register, those customers earn credits, and those credits potentially go back to the MSP and grow their volume, and it's a symbiotic relationship. Mm-hmm. So you can get access rights directly from the mail owner who's registering. And then we're adding new reports. That'll be coming out next month, right in the My Products portal. There'll be reports that both the mail owners and the MSPs can look up by their permit if they were given credits by the mail owner. Credits can be taken by the mail owner themselves on their own permit, or they can be assigned to a third party like an MSP to use for the mail owner. So in June, we'll have new credit balance and usage. It'll be a very deep dive into it, including all the way down to mailing statements so you can see exactly how those credits are being used. Same deal as last year, same deal as the year before, 30% postage credits on growth over your baseline. This year's baseline is calendar year 25. Again, we heard loud and clear from the industry to make it as simple as possible to be able to look at calendar year instead of fiscal year. So we changed it to a calendar year baseline. And then you would earn the credits on your growth over either 1 million pieces or your baseline, whichever is higher. So anybody, on the next page, anybody can register, right? Anybody can register. You don't have to have ever mailed before. Like that one example that I had earlier in that financial services company, they hadn't mailed before. They had a 0 baseline. So they can start earning credits once they hit 1 million pieces. Is there a minimum volume required to register? No, like I said, you could register if you've never mailed before. If you have a brand new company that's only been doing digital, but they want to try mail and they think they're going to hit 1 million pieces this year, they should absolutely register. Can MSPs participate? Sure. MSPs can participate, but they have to be a mail owner. It has to be their own mail. And a mail owner is basically defined as the customer that designs the mail piece, decides on the offer, ultimately pays the postage. So an MSP may be using their permit, but they're getting paid by the mail owner to mail for them. So the MSP is not a mail owner if the customer is paying them. But MSP could be advertising their own services. MSP could have a marriage mail piece that they own. They get advertisers into a marriage mail piece. So somebody, I'll throw out a name like Valpak, who has the blue envelope. Everybody knows about the blue envelope. They're a mail owner for the blue envelope, but all the solo mail pieces, they're not owner for that. So they have to split up, which part of their company that they're allowed to register. Which brings me to business units, right? So think of a catalog company, And I like to joke about the catalog company that has a whole bunch of different titles that they put out there, right? The skiing magazine in Alaska is probably doing really well. The skiing magazine in Hawaii probably isn't doing very well, right? So they can break out their business units by title as long as those business units are acting independently from each other. Okay, because if the two of them, the Alaska and the Hawaii skiing magazines, you may balance out and not grow overall as a company, but if you register them separately, the Alaska magazine could earn credits while the skiing magazine in Hawaii may go out of business, and that's okay. Not okay that it goes out of business, but it's okay that they don't earn credits. Basically, the products that are included is all first class mail. As long as it's entered via e-doc, it's not stamped mail. It's permanent imprint mail. All letters, cards, and flats on the first class side. And again, two different incentives. First class mail and market mail don't cross over between the incentives. So that's what's available for the first class side. On the marketing mail side, basically all marketing mail, all the way from letters and flats all the way to parcels.
Yep. So I see the questions coming in, folks. Please keep those questions coming in. I'll have the team try to answer as many as possible there in the chat, and we will take those on the air as well. Any question you have, don't worry, no question is off limits. Drop that there into the chat. So Steve, tell us about how do folks register, which is the deadline that's coming up. How do people do the registration?
So registration is relatively simple. At least to begin, the registration is relatively simple. You go into the My Products portal through your BCG account, your Business Customer Gateway account, and ensure that the registrant puts in an alternate contact information. We want to make sure that if somebody is on vacation or we have an issue, somebody goes on leave, we've had people go on maternity leave or leave a company and we have an alternate contact, make sure that's in there. And then you acknowledge that you have the authority to enroll your entire company and all your CRIDs. Now that's important because a large company may have thousands and thousands of CRIDs. Now they may only use 50 of them, but one person in the company has to register the whole company. Now, again, you can break that out into business units. So they may want to contact other business units and say, hey, should we register different pieces a different way? But you're authorizing us to enroll your whole company. And then agree to the terms and conditions. After that, we present a baseline to you. We pull all of your CRIDs, all of the volume from calendar year 25, and best we can through Postal One, we give you, which is our system of record, we give you a baseline. It may be 5 pieces, it may be 500 million pieces. You have to know, give or take, whether that looks right or not. If it looks right, you can immediately agree. If it doesn't look right, you can disagree and ask for a discussion with our office. Right? We have a 2-tiered system. We go through tier 1 to figure out if it's just a CRID that's missing or CRID that's added by accident. Steve's Auto Body in St. Louis and Steve's Tire Repair in St. Louis may not be the same company, but our system may think that, and it may be registered together. And Steve's Auto Body just has to tell the Postal Service, well, Steve's Tire Company isn't the same company, and we would take that CRID off. That would be a basic discussion. Once you agree to your baseline, we agree to your baseline, and you're registered.
So this is what needs to be done by the 30th, correct, Steve?
So the only thing that has to be done by the 30th is the first 3 pieces.
First 3 right here.
You have to go into the portal. Yep. You have to enter your alternate contact information, and you have to submit the authorization. That will get you at least started with the registration. If you're in the system, then you can view your baseline and have a discussion, agree or disagree, anytime between now and the end of June. At the end of June, that's the cutoff because we start issuing credits for companies that have already earned credits in July. So we can't be registering and issuing credits at the same time.
Okay. So for those of you who are here in the room that are thinking, shoot, I'm looking at my calendar here, my watch, whatever it is, I've got 2 days. How many of you are realizing right now, give me a yes in the chat, that you probably want to get on this for either yourself or for your customers? Give me a yes in the chat if you're realizing, hey, I've got a clock that's ticking here. But the process looks pretty simple. It looks like those first 3 things. Okay, so Becky, Victoria, Nicole, yeah, keep those coming in, folks. We want to have a sense for how many of you are realizing that this is a significant opportunity. Now, we're going to provide resources at the end of the webinar, but Steve, I know you've got a lot already prepared for folks. Where can they find information if they've got other questions here for you.
Sure, I've got a team waiting for Beth and all you guys who are looking to register in the next couple of days. I have a team waiting to help you. If you can get into the system, just let us know, and once you're entered, we will start working with you, or you can just simply agree, and we'll move forward. But we do have FAQs, we have some learning modules, all in Postal Pro. Postal Pro is a postal website that has all of our products and systems and all sorts of information available. If you go to postalpro.com/MSI, you'll be able to go to the bottom of the page. It has information section, a resources section that has a bunch of different learning tools. I think there's some videos we have up there on how to register, how to collect credits, and then of course all of our FAQs. I think we've got nearly 100 FAQs, which aren't all frequently asked anymore, but we have them listed out by how to register, how to claim, what accounts, all different things. So we have lots of information for you.
Awesome. Keep your questions coming in for Steve, folks. Like I said, we will have time for Q&A. I want to make sure we answer all your questions. What I want to do is, Carissa, get ready for this next poll here. Turn your attention to the screen. If you're a mail service provider, a printer, are you using MGI, the Mail Growth Incentive, what you just heard from Steve, as an opportunity for you to show value to your customer? We want to know how you are using this if you're a mail service provider. So the first option is yes, it's a part of how we add value for clients. That's fantastic. I know folks like Southeastern, of course, who are here are using it to do that. Not yet, but I'd like to. Okay, that's good. No, I wasn't aware I could. Even better. That's good because we're opening up new opportunities for you there. And then, of course, some of you are not MSPs. That's helpful to know. We're going to ask you a question in just a moment. So, Carissa, we've got about, let's get to 50% participation here at least. Come on, keep those votes coming in. We're almost there. A couple more people. Look at your screen. If you're an MSP, are you using this as an opportunity to show value? All right, Carissa, let's close it down in 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, end the poll. Let's take a quick look at that, Carissa. How do we look here? So it looks like the folks who are aware, of course, 29% are saying that it's part of how they add value. That's great. And then we've got not yet, but I'd like to, and no, I wasn't aware I could, is what, 40%. So the majority of the room, or maybe even more than 40%. That is good to know. Now, one more question for the mail owners. When I say mail owners, go to the next poll here, Carissa. For those of you who are thinking about registering for this, or if you're a print service provider, what do you think is the biggest barrier to registering? We want to know, what is the barrier that you perceive? Is it that the registration process seems complex? Steve broke it down pretty simply there. Is it you don't have the internal buy-in or the resources to do the work? That's a very real situation. We understand that there's a perception that it requires work. Certainly it does. I'm not sure we qualify or would benefit enough. I've already registered, no barriers. That's great. And maybe you're not a MSP or a service provider. That's okay. Keep those coming in, and we're going to bring Kim in here in just a moment. Continue to show you how folks are using this in the real world. Get out there and vote. What's the biggest barrier to registering? Well, Steve, it's good. It doesn't seem like a lot of people feel the registration process is too complex. That's good. Carissa, let's bring that down in 5 seconds here. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Interesting. Go ahead and share that real quick here, Carissa. Steve, I'll take that as a win here. Looks like you and the team have done a fantastic job simplifying the registration process, making it feel like it's something that everybody can get into. That's great. And it's interesting to see that there's some who have already registered, of course, and there's some who are saying they're not sure we qualify or would benefit enough. Well, if you're not sure you're qualified, let us know there in the chat what your question is. Carissa, thanks for rolling that. And now I'm going to turn our attention over to Kim. Now that you know a little bit about the program, how it works, Steve walked us through that. I'm excited to have Kim here with us today because she's going to take us inside the room, kind of the behind the scenes story in terms of how this worked for her and her team. So Kim, welcome. Can you start by telling us a little bit about your direct mail operation and how you look at direct mail there at Humana?
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Humana is a very large mailer, one of the larger mailers of the Postal Service. We mail anywhere upwards of 1 billion communications every year. So we have, quite a bit of volume that's going through the Postal Service. We do that anywhere, combination of mostly print direct. So I have a team of about 25. So we have a big print production team, and mostly work directly with print partners, but there are also times where we work with agencies as well, but mostly straight to print. We have, because we do such a large group, we have a team broken up into three different groups. We have a team that focuses on pre-enrollment or acquisition mailings. We have a team that focuses on enrolling our customers at the time of enrollment. And then we also have post-enrollment, so all of our member communications. And, because Humana is healthcare and regulated, we have a combination of what we mail. We do a lot of acquisition, but mostly what we do is operational and regulatory mailings for our members.
So you and your team have participated in 2024 and 2025. And as I understand, as you can see here on the screen, for a total of 15 million in postage credits. Am I reading that right?
You are. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
And, like a lot of people that are on this call too, it was something that we weren't, 100% sure what we were doing, or how the process went, but it has just been something that has been so extremely beneficial to us that we've been able to get all this additional funds for postage, and has allowed us to mail additional on the acquisition side. So it's been huge. When we first went in and did this. So first I want to give a shout out to two people on my team who are really instrumental in the keys they've been the ones behind the scenes doing this, Savannah and Josie. Josie, I know you're on here. Savannah, I don't know if you are, but they're really the ones behind the scenes that have done all of this. So, we registered all of our CRIDs for all of Humana. So it's a lot of CRIDs. Like you mentioned, Dave, we're one of those ones that has, hundreds, upwards of thousands of CRIDs. So we registered all of those. And it's pretty simple. The Postal Service really does the majority of the work once we've been registered. They're the ones who are tracking all of the mail, so that you don't have to do that. They establish the baseline. All we had to do was agree to that baseline. And then we, just mail as we would. And at the end of the year, they come back to us and let us know how we did.
So Kim, when you say you unknowingly registered all the CRIDs under one company, tell us about that.
We did, yeah. So it was the first year of doing this, and it was the first year of the incentive. But as Steve mentioned, when you go in, you have to register all of the CRIDs. And because our team is so large, we have different teams that are registering for promotions at different times. So when we went in and registered, we were under the assumption at the time that each team kind of would have to register separately. But when we went in and registered everybody all at once, it was a really happy accident that we were, all of the mailings that were going out throughout the company were entered, and it ended up just being a huge success for us.
Merry Christmas. Well, what was the registration process like? Do you remember?
Yeah, and again, Savannah and Josie did most of this, but it's, as Steve mentioned, it's fairly simple. You really just go into your business customer gateway and register for it. You pull in all of your CRIDs should be there. So it's, as long as you see all of your CRIDs there, it's really just pulling in all of those CRIDs. Then you agree to the baseline with the Postal Service. And once you're done there, you just agree to that baseline, and then you just mail as you would. So it's pretty simple. Once all that is done, and you just collect your credits, and then at the end, they will reach back out and let you know that the promotion has ended and what your credits are.
Steve, I'm going to tag you back in real quick here. I saw this question come in when folks were registering. They were asking, how many companies out there are eligible that haven't signed up yet? And I know I asked you this question in preparation as well. Tell us about this stat in the purple box down here at the bottom.
So we calculated about 5,000 customers will reach 1 million pieces based on the CRID volumes in the system. We have we'll probably have about 1,700 customers register this year. And that's for either market mail or first class mail growth incentive. So there's a whole bunch of companies out there that could potentially benefit from this. And as Kim said, it's relatively simple to register.
Amazing. Well, Kim, as you went through this, I'm sure there were some lessons learned or some gotchas, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm going to anyways. What do you recall standing out as the things that you and your team learned through this process?
Yeah, there definitely were a few learning lessons for our first time that we did it. So we, one of the call outs that Steve had too was that you have to register your CRIDs as the consumer versus the MSP registering. So a lot of the mailings that we do mail under MSPs and under their indicias. So it was important for us to make sure that all of our Humana crids were registered and that the mail was flowing through our crids to make sure that we were getting the credit for those mailings and they were hitting our baseline or hitting our growth. So that was a big lesson learned for the first time. So because we do mail with so many different MSPs, it was a little bit trickier for us to keep it all under control, but Savannah and Josie did a great job there. For us, we have to allocate that on our back end. So when we get all of our credits, we keep track on the back end of the different departments that would get that, because Steve had mentioned about the new feature where you can break it out. But because our departments aren't necessarily separate arms of the company, we don't necessarily qualify for that along those lines. So we just break it out on the back end. But that was a learning lesson for us too, when we received the credit all into one account, even though we have multiple BCGs. So this year we were able to plan for that a little bit better, to be able to know exactly where we wanted the credits to come back to.
Fantastic. Now you mentioned that you almost left millions on the table. And I hate it when I forget a few million here or there, but it happens to all of us, right?
Right.
What happened in your case? Tell us a little bit more about that and what you learned through that experience.
Yeah, and that was just another learning lesson for us, is making sure that we keep top of mind when the incentive ends and how long we have to claim those credits. So when we did it the first year, we weren't aware that there was that deadline to be able to claim the credits. So yeah, we almost didn't get our $9+ million, which would have definitely have been a tragedy there for Humana, but we were able to at the last minute claim all of those credits to make sure that we got those. So they definitely learned a lesson there. Make sure you know when you have to have your credits claimed by, so you don't lose those.
Yeah, definitely. Now, I saw somebody in the audience saying, I'm probably not going to grow my mail volume this year. So, what's the point? Why should I still do this? What advice do you have for somebody who might be thinking that right now?
My advice is, why would you not? There literally is no downside to this. It doesn't cost anything to register for the incentive. And a lot of times in direct mail, there is surprise mail that comes up. Humana mails mostly operational and regulatory mailing. It's not discretionary mailing. So for us, we just never know when, compliance or a legal team is going to come to us and say, hey, we have to do this other large mailing that we didn't plan for. And a lot of times, marketing and direct mail is not always planned for. So you never know what you have coming down the pipe. There's no reason not to sign up for this incentive, because like I said, there is no downside. The only thing that you can do is, get free money and get credit back.
Steve, what about from your perspective at USPS? Do you agree with what Kim's saying there?
Hey, I'm busy answering questions here. Yes, absolutely. Kim is right on the nose. There's really no risk, no obligation. You could register for one or both. As Kim said, you never know what mailing might come up. The government may tell you all of a sudden you have to mail privacy statements again to everybody. And if you weren't registered, you don't get the 30% credits. If you are registered, you can use those for the following year to increase your base mailing lists and grow your business even more.
Yep. Well, Kim, thank you for sharing your story. And everybody who's here in the room, please let us know what questions you have for Kim. I'm very grateful that she shared that story and that she gave you insight into how it worked for them. Certainly a success story. Maybe deserves to be another box there on your chart that you showed us, Steve. So let us know if you have any questions for Kim and her team there in the chat. Thank you, Kim, for sharing that. Now, speaking of leaving money on the table, I want to make sure that you're all aware of another incentive or a subsidy that's available to you. And that's one specifically that Sylvamo is making as an investment to the direct mail industry and to each of you who's here in the room today. So are you ready for me to show that to you? I want to give everyone a breath here. I know we just went through a lot, but give me a yes in the chat here if you're ready to move on to the next portion here. This is another opportunity for you to grow your margins, for you to grow your revenues, for you to find another opportunity to drive value. Okay, the yeses are coming in. All right, so what I'm going to show you next here, again, is tying this to Sylvamo. It's a initiative. You may have heard about it, called Intelligent Paper, okay? It's brought to you by Sylvamo, and it's a name for a special incentive program that wraps the full omni-channel digital experience that Chris was talking about a moment ago around your direct mail. Chris often will say things like direct mail is the only channel. Chris, I think you say it's the only channel that touches you back, right? You've said that often. I like to say that if you wanted to, you could even, you could taste it, right? That tasted pretty good. Anybody else tasted the direct mail, or is it only me? I know I'm a nerd, but it touches you back. You can taste it. And now with intelligent paper, which we're about to show you next, you can talk to it. And so the easiest way for me to show you what I mean is just to tee up here a quick, short demonstration of that. And then AJ is going to come on and tell you how Sylvamo is making this available to you. All right, here we go. What happens is as this piece makes its way through USPS, it's getting scanned an average of about 7 times with the barcode that's here. You all have done that for many years, right? But now we can start to use the scan of that barcode to activate marketing messages, an email, a text message, a ringless voicemail, again, reinforcing the brand as it makes its way to the consumer. So as soon as I scan that personalized QR code, as the recipient of that piece, what happens is that now I can begin to have a conversation with that piece. So I scan it, I pick up my phone, open up my camera app to scan it, and...
Oh, hello? Is this Dave?
Yes, it is. How are you?
Oh, yay. Hi, Dave. How goes it?
It goes pretty well. I just got this mail piece about this cool house here in Tennessee. Tell me more about it.
Oh, sure thing. The house you're talking about is at 530 Carysbrook Cove in Memphis, Tennessee. It's a single-story home in a quiet cove and has a lot of charm. It's got 5 bedrooms, 8 bathrooms.
You know what? I got a kid that's a swimmer. He's in junior guards right now. Does it have a pool by any chance?
Yes, it does. This place has a lovely in-ground pool.
All right, I'm going to pause it for a beat there, folks. We gave you just a little taste of what that looks like. There's a longer video. If you want the demonstration video, we can send that to you. But let me pause for a beat here. What's everyone thinking when you see that? Direct mail is the only channel that touches you back. Direct mail is the only channel that, in theory, you can taste. And now direct mail is a channel that you can talk to. There are some folks in the room, like Annalise at Southeastern, that have made this available to their customers, that are starting to roll this out. This is a blue ocean opportunity in the sense that you adopt this as a mail owner, as a someone doing direct mail, or as a print service provider, and start offering this to your clients. This is something that without a doubt is going to stand out and provide, yes, I see that the word there, engagement, provide enormous engagement opportunities for your direct mail. And for those that are bilingual, yes, it also will speak any language if you want to see more about that. So AJ, tell us a little bit more as people are reacting to the intelligent paper there. Talk to us about why you, Sylvamo, have invested in creating this special program and how mailers can save money when they print direct mail on your paper and take advantage of this.
Yeah, so as you know, everyone needs paper to send mail, and we're trying to do our part just to encourage the growth of mail. So this is where we came up with intelligent paper, where we will actually pay for the technology to really help bridge that gap between the physical and the digital, really help take any barrier to entry. So if you want to try it out, we'll help pay for that software behind the scenes. And all we're asking for in return is that anonymized data, so that we can continue to write case studies and white papers to tell the story that mail works. You can actually get data from the engagement from mail. You can prove out the ROI from mail, and using intelligent paper, you will get all of that data in a dashboard that tracks all of this. So really a great way for you to continue to send mail and prove its effectiveness.
So AJ, I know here you have an example of some of the data as an example that can be gathered in those dashboards, right?
Yeah, so we've got a dashboard, and I can put the link here in the chat that really talks a little bit more about the program, shows what some of that data looks like, and there's even a spot on the page to register to get more information, and then I'll reach out and we can have a conversation. But again, we're really just trying to take away that barrier to entry. If you've got a customer who might be interested, or if you're a brand owner and want to try it out, we can help guide you through that process with MindFire's help and Sylvamo's help to execute.
So Mark is asking, can you tailor the voice you interact with to the customer? Yes, Mark. Nicole saying, interesting. Do you have to use that paper since it's a QR code? Do you need to use Sylvamo paper, Nicole? Clarify your question there. How does the paper do this? Nicole is asking. Well, that's magic, isn't it, AJ?
Well, and just to point out for the pilot program, we do like to get about 350,000 pieces. Of course, we want the piece to be printed on our paper. We don't provide the paper, but we do provide the software. And again, we want that anonymized data so we can write the case study.
So if you want to know more, go ahead and roll the poll, and then we're going to get into Q&A here, folks. Carissa, go ahead and roll the poll here. If you want to learn more about this special program here, yet another opportunity to drive value in mail, go ahead and hit yes there on the screen. Maybe send me more information, and no, not at this time. Is also certainly an option, but I would expect very few on that one there. So if you want to learn more, if you have questions, Nicole, how does the paper do it? Is, you know, what's happening behind the scenes is the same variable data that you use to print the variable data direct mail. The same data that's being baked into the barcode that's tracking that piece as it makes its way through USPS. All of that data is available to this agentic experience that is kind of layered around the direct mail piece. So I saw somebody ask, how does it, you know, navigate that conversation? That is all set up in the campaign so that it knows what's inbounds, it knows what's out of bounds, what it shouldn't talk about. And the thesis is that that conversation guides the respondent from point A to point B. In the case that you saw there on the screen, it's setting me up to have an appointment or set up an appointment to come out and see that house. So if it's financial services, if it's, you know, there's a variety of different use cases that could be at play. That is engineered, if you will, into that process to guide the person from point A to point B. So, Carissa, let's leave it up for another 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you for that, Carissa. Appreciate that. And what we're going to do next, folks, we're going to roll right into the Q&A here. I know we're going to be going a little bit past the hour. If you need to drop off and you want the recording, please let us know there in the chat, but stick around. We're going to answer all your questions. One more thing I want to make sure AJ has an opportunity to do is not only have we showed how Sylvamo is committed to the industry through these webinars, not only are we showing how Sylvamo is committed to you through things like intelligent paper, but also you're doing something here with your trees. Tell us about that, AJ.
Yeah, just as an added bonus for registering for the webinar, we plant 5 trees for each person who registers. So since we started, we've planted about 4,600. You can see the impact there. Wow. After today's webinar, we'll plant at least 1,000 more. So really excited to plant these trees.
That's really cool. Thank you, AJ. David is asking on your intelligent paper, is 350,000 the minimum, AJ?
Really the maximum. We want to keep it around there. And that just really helps us get enough data to truly tell that story.
Yep. And he's asking, could it be spread over a couple of months, 2 drops of 175? Maybe you might make an exception since his name is David. Would you be okay with that?
we can figure it out.
Okay.
We can definitely get creative.
All right. Well, folks, now is your time, as I always say in these, to be selfish, okay? What I mean by that is I want to make sure that every question you have, within reason and within the time that we have left here, we'll go about another 15 minutes. I want to make sure that we get your questions answered. So I'm going to go based on what I see on the screen. We also have a bunch that were submitted in advance. Greg is asking you, AJ, does the weight of the paper matter?
Well, it depends on your project, right? So it's if you're sending a postcard versus a letter and envelope, you know, we can help you figure that out.
Greg, let us know if we answered your question there. Steve, I know you've been backstage there typing like a crazy man. What are some of the common questions that you're seeing coming in that you want to make sure everyone's clear on?
I think one of the interesting things is, especially for MSPs, we try to get the message out that yes, the mail owner is the one who earns the credits, and they're the ones who have to register, and they have to be the ones who grow their volume. But MSPs can bring in their customers as an added service to their customers, let them know about the mail growth incentive, and help them grow, help on their strategies to grow. And in turn, that customer will be will be linked to that MSP even tighter, right? Yep. A good relationship, as well as when that mail owner earns credits, they can transfer those directly to the MSP, and the MSP can use them on their permit to continue to work with the mail owner to continue to grow the business. That grows the mail owner business, it grows the MSP business, and of course it grows the Postal Service business. It's a win-win-win all the way around, and we try to get that message out so everybody understands. But it's hard for an MSP who isn't directly benefiting in dollar value up front to understand exactly how this will work. We have a lot of MSPs that do help register their customers. And I know one MSP that's earned probably $50 million over the last 2 years.
Wow. That's fantastic. Chris, Lean, I've got two questions for you from Victoria. The first, and then Shannon is the second here. Victoria is asking, do I register through my BCC software? My mailing gal is on vacation, so I have to figure it out myself. Chris?
Yeah, so the registration is not through the software. So you will register with the Postal Service through their portal on setting that up, and you're going to work with, if you're the mail service provider, work with your customer, agree to the baseline and so forth. There's a very easy process to follow through with that. To be able
Chris,
to
it's the BCG account that they register through. I think
that's
the confusion there. Yep.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. I appreciate that. As far as actually applying the credits, then that's where your software comes into play with BCC. So we help you to apply for the credits so that information is conveyed through the mail.dat. That's electronic file documentation that we use for the eDoc. So that's all done with the software. But the registration is specifically, that's outside the software, but then applying the credits later on once they've been allocated, that's through the software.
A lot of acronyms that sound the same. So BCG, Business Customer Gateway.
Gateway. Yep.
Yeah.
BCC, better call Chris. Yeah. All right, Chris, Lean, I'm coming back to you on this one from Shannon. Chris, how are companies integrating digital marketing with direct mail to maximize growth? What are you seeing there, Chris?
Numerous ways, Dave. I mean, certainly a QR code is one way to be able to do that, right? I've got my phone, right, and I'm communicating electronically with that. You actually did that demonstration with that. There's ways with voice assisted devices, and again, I'm talking about, for example, with Amazon with the Alexa device, and I have to be careful because if I say her name, she thinks I'm talking to her. But you've got that mail piece where you can interact with it like that. Just a whole host of different ways. And this is the beauty, by the way, for the promotions that our postal partners have set up for us. It's a wide canvas, folks, wide canvas of opportunity for you to be able to leverage that digital. And that's what we want, right? We want to be able to get those creative minds and thoughts. That's why I talked about, the direct effect challenge at MPF, getting all those young minds there together, because they're really the future. And so bringing that together with it. So the short answer is it's a very big canvas of opportunity for you. Take a look at how physical and digital can interplay in that physical experience. You will see response rates that will just amaze you, that overshadow anything that any single channel can do on its own.
And Shannon, I think you saw a pretty good example there with the piece that was talking back, right? That's a perfect example of the digital, the physical and the digital coming together. Kim, a question here from one of the registrants. Have you had success using the growth incentive in back-to-back years? I think you've pretty clearly answered that. But how do you estimate and plan for the credits you will earn? Kim, any insight there?
To plan and so what we do is we're a fairly regulated industry, so we know kind of what our annual volume is going to be. We base that off of our membership. So as our membership goes up and down each year, we can estimate what we are going to what we're going to receive in our credits. So last year we had a really great open enrollment season where we knew we had increased membership, so we knew that we were going to see growth over last year's growth incentive. And we use that mostly to increase our mail volume. So we do some additional discretionary campaigns with our credits. And then we also just use it to fund the postage that we already know that we're mailing. So we use it in two different ways.
First, I'm going to ask you a question here from Liz. Liz is asking a question.
Dave, could I jump in for a second?
Go ahead, Steve.
Sorry. So a lot of people ask about year over year growth and being in the mail growth incentive multiple years in a row. One of the things that I mentioned earlier is if you earn credits the first year, you can plunge that back into your mail volume the next year, right? And as you do that, your house list grows, right? You have more customers that are engaged and your house list grows. So as you do that, you have more volume going to your house list, which is very profitable volume for you, typically. And you can also go down the list further and do more prospecting. right? Because of the credits that you're earning. So it has happened many times in many companies, a couple that I showed, where they're able to grow year over year over year, 2-3 years in a row, and they're ready to grow again this year. So just another example of how the mail growth incentive can be effective year over year. Now we understand there's probably an upper limit on that, and we're looking at ways to include other people as well, including possibly MSPs or even smaller companies. So we're constantly hearing what you're saying and talking to the industry about what we can potentially do in the future, and we'll keep you up to date as we develop new programs.
You're really doing a wonderful job, Steve. We really appreciate it. You
And
and the team there, of course.
One quick note there too is that Steve had mentioned before, it's always easier the second year as well. So the first year is really when you're going in and you have to fill out more of the paperwork and more of the information, but the Postal Service will automatically renew your registration for the next year. So it's even simpler to register. All you have to go in and just agree to that baseline that they're providing, and then you are off and ready to go. So much simpler the second year.
Yes, indeed. So Chris, coming over to you for a question from Liz.
Yeah.
Liz is asking for your input. How do we reduce postage on the 7 annual magazines we print and mail? We don't want to be priced out of print. What strategies, Chris, would you give somebody in that situation?
So magazines, I'm assuming that when you say magazines, you're talking about periodical mail. So,
yes, I think so.
there's a lot of opportunities with periodical mail to bridge to advertising, for example. There's a phrase that we talk about sometimes called a magalog, right? It's a magazine that also kind of contains sort of a catalog type experience with it. And I mentioned before on that Mail Reimagined, that's the kind of innovation that we can look at, right? How do we sort of take from the fringes and bring to to more of a mainstream some of these different types of mail preparation pieces. But as far as just additional ways to reduce your postage with magazines, with periodicals, with that, certainly sortation is a big opportunity. There's many companies that have physical and digital capabilities to commingle magazines together with other magazines, so you get a better discount. You can get down to those lower 5-digit and carrier route levels. With that lowers the overall postage. There's an opportunity, again, I mentioned early on, as the Postal Service with the July price change, we're beginning to move more towards a shape approach rather than class specific. So if a shape approach for mail preparation, maybe it doesn't make a difference between it's a magazine or marketing mail and a periodical. So there's a lot of opportunities with that. But I would say talk to your software provider, talk to your mail service provider, look at those ways to be able to consolidate, take advantage of the co-mailing, take advantage of that, of the digital to go along with that. There's a great opportunity with periodicals. Remember, that's the oldest class of mail in the United States, older than the United States itself. It's periodicals that helped bind the nation when the Confederate, we were declaring our Declaration of Independence, right? So, but that's a great question. Thanks.
AJ, feedback from Edic here saying this webinar has been very inspiring. As an envelope manufacturer, we're always looking to find new markets and uses to make envelopes and mail relevant. Kim, in particular, you've been very helpful. Kim, thank you. That's very good to hear, Edic. Steve, I'm going to throw this one at you. If we use a third-party mailer for co-mailing, Chris just touched on that, can we still see reports for the number of pieces processed?
If you're talking about mail growth incentive, absolutely. Comminglers, I know a number of the largest ones that we work with very closely with mail growth incentive. What they'll do is they'll put the entire mailing in as a single statement, but then they'll use child statements to identify individual mailers and put mail owner crids on those child statements. So all of that volume will count towards your mail growth incentive registration, and everybody else's volume will count towards theirs. It's called a buy for designation on a mailing statement. They are buying or entering mail pieces for somebody else. So they do a buy for with child statements, and all of it flows back into our Postal One system, and we can identify volume by mail owner crid. Somebody mentioned earlier in the chat here that there are a number of different crids that can be used. There's mail preparer, the permit owner, and a mail owner. The mail owner crid is the one that we use to identify the mail volume.
I see a question from Michael saying, how is it possible to actually save 30% That seems unreal for postage. I have a very large healthcare client that applies. So hopefully, folks, if you're like Michael or others here, we should have clarified that today, how the program works. Is there anybody that still has questions around the mechanics of the program? Give me a question mark in the chat there if you still have an open question. Just a quick question mark, so we can see how many people still have questions about how what Steve shared today works. Anybody still have an open question there? It looks like we've hit most of them. AJ, okay, William, take a moment to drop yours in, William, if you still have an open question. If there's anyone else like him, please let us know your question there. AJ, while folks are typing in their question, I know that we have a bunch of resources that we can make available to those who are here. What do we have to share?
Yeah, so I put in the chat the link to our resource page, and basically it's got all of our recordings, all of our decks, any one-pagers that might have come out as a result of any of these webinars. So please go check it out, and lots of topics to learn about. And also, if you've got any ideas on future topics, put that in the chat as well. We're always trying to kind of talk about hot topics that are relevant right now. So if you've got anything that you would like to learn more about, please let us know.
And tell us a little bit about what we're seeing now on the screen here. What is this?
Yeah, so this is a little bit of a teaser for our 2027 USPS promotions playbook. We created one for the 2026 promotions, really to be not only an educational tool, but to create some inspiration, to tweak your direct mail pieces to really not only improve the engagement of your piece, but to help with the purpose of the piece. Christine always talks about the purpose of the piece, and that's the whole point of the promotions, is to encourage that engagement. So we will be having a webinar, I think at the end of July 24th, and we'll have a registration link right here. And please provide your mailing address, and we will get you signed up to receive this in the mail, probably sometime early Q4, so that you can use it with your customers, or with your companies, to make sure that you know exactly what the promotions are. You'll see some recommendations for each promotion, and really, again, just improve that purpose of the piece.
William, let us know what question you have. AJ, thank you for that. I see a question from Julie. Obviously, Steve, you'll have to make the call on this. Julie is saying, hey, can I have Steve Mills' personal email? People have got questions for Steve, but Steve, what is the best way for folks to reach your team if they've got questions?
So I just dropped in the chat the Mail Growth Incentive USPS.gov email address. General questions about the Mail Growth Incentive can go there. My team will check on those. They check on them regularly. If you're already in the registration process, if you have a registration in the system, please use your service request, your registration, to ask questions, because I have a larger team, two-tiered team, that can look at your registration specifically, look at the data, and figure out what your question is and how to respond to you. And if necessary, they can escalate it back up to my team here at headquarters. But general questions can certainly go to that Mail Growth Incentive at USPS.gov email.
So for those of you who are still here, I'm looking at Alan, Bob, I'm just going to call it a couple names, Gavin, Lisa, Linda, Michael. Give me a yes in the chat if you think that leaving this session today that you, or maybe on behalf of a customer, are going to go register for the Mail Growth Incentive. Based on what you heard today, give me a yes in the chat if there are some of you who are going to be kind of like we did in high school, or for me in college, leaving our homework to the last minute. How many of you are last minute folks here are going to be scurrying out and getting registered? I see Darcy saying yes, Michael, yes, Bob, yes, Nicole, yes, Victoria, yes. Steve, you too?
Absolutely.
How much mail does USPS send? I should know the answer to that. Do you know?
Yeah, I don't know. We send a lot of mail, though. We do.
Yes. Gavin's already registered. Great job, Gavin. Linda is saying yes. Michael is yes. Well, that's good. So, Steve, let your team know that likely a couple of more registrations for sure are coming in today, tomorrow, as we get closer to the deadline here. Are there any other questions that you saw, Chris, in the chat that you think we should touch on that we haven't yet covered? Chris?
No, I think we covered it pretty well here, and I'm looking forward to the promotions webinar in July.
Absolutely. Kim, what about you from your perspective as you look through the chat? Did anything stand out to you that, you know, from your perspective as a mail owner, or as a brand, as we call you, is there anything else that you want to underscore for the audience here?
Really just the ease of doing these promotions and incentives, and they're really, why are you not, would be my biggest question. I mean, I'm definitely surprised at the large number of consumers and clients that are still not using the incentives. You
Yep.
know, we talked about the 15 million that we've earned through the growth incentive, but that's only the growth incentive. If you look at all the other U.S. promotions that they offer throughout the year, we are closer to 20 to 25 million a year that we get back in credits, in postal
Wow.
credits for all of the promotions and incentives combined. So
Wow.
really great opportunity, and something that every company should be doing.
Yeah. Why would you not? Chris, that's something that you and I talk a lot about. What are some of the reasons we hear?
Well, so really it comes down to the three concerns I hear a lot. I don't know how to do it, I don't know how to sell it, and I don't know how to make money on it, right?
Mhm.
Particularly when it comes to the promotions. And there's a way to be able to do this. In fact, there's technology that'll be coming out soon from BCC software that will help you to be able to respond to those three of them. But you're taking the first step today. You've attended the webinar, you're getting educated on this. Let's continue the conversation. Let's continue on exploring how can we help mail owners take advantage of this opportunity, because it's real and there's some real dollars to be saved here, and there's a real chance, an opportunity for you to grow mail volume. And as Steve said earlier, it's a win-win-win for all of us if we get this right. So let's jump in and continue the conversation.
AJ, again, thank you from me and as a representative of the audience here. Thank you for sponsoring this event and investing in the community in the way that you have with Solvamo. What have you seen in the chat that stands out to you? Is there anything that you think we need to still cover?
Oh, I mean, I agree with Chris. It's a win-win. Anything we can do to help educate the industry, to help save money and send more mail, helps everyone. So thank you for being here and learning with us.
Thank you, Kevin. I see that. Thank you very much. It was crazy interesting, says Carolina. Yeah. So one more question for all of you, and then I will bring us to a close. So for those of you who are still in the audience today, give us the gift of a little feedback here. It's a question I love to ask the diehards like you who are still here with us. What stood out to you today? What was that aha moment, that light bulb moment for you, Bob, Nicole, Linda, Kevin, Carolina, Darcy? What was that one moment where you heard Kim say something? Or maybe Steve, and you wrote it down and you underscored it, or AJ or Chris? What was it that stood out to you today? Darcy, I know you're saying thank you for all the insights and expertise. That's nice to hear. What was it? Michael is saying intelligent paper is what stood out. Michael, thank you for sharing that. Bob, what was it for you? Linda, I know I'm putting you on the spot. Bob is saying I was unaware of the MGI program, or the Mail Growth Incentive Program. So AJ, Chris, Steve, that's why we invested this time, is to spread the awareness. So I'm glad, Bob, that you learned something today. Linda is saying intelligent paper is what stood out. Okay, what were the aha moments, the things where you're like, oh my gosh, my mind was blown? Darcy says the intelligent paper offering with the AI powered chat is very exciting. Darcy, it is. I can barely sleep these days.
We're going to be
That's
busy,
how excited I am
Dave.
about AI. Huh?
I said we're going to be busy
Yeah, that's good.
doing all the intelligent paper follow-ups. I love it.
Talking mail is very interesting. Yes, it is. No one liked my chewing the mailer, huh? Well, Chris, Natasha is saying how the MGI credits can be distributed. Good. Carolina says intelligent paper sounds amazing. Yeah, literally, right? No pun intended. Also, how simple actions can lead to spectacular results. Yeah. Edic is saying intelligent paper got me thinking. So Edic, envelope manufacturer, is that right? Which company? Remind us, because AJ and I are talking more about how can we invest in the envelope industry and help you also think about bringing that kind of intelligence to what you do. Nicole saying, I learned that I need to learn more. Wow, that's cool. The intelligent paper was great. I like that. I'm a lifelong learner as well. Chris, I know you are. You're always teaching me new things. Steve, thank you for teaching us what we needed to know about this program. Kevin is saying, I love the idea that USPS might look into additional ways to help mid-market businesses.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
Always
Chris,
looking.
Yeah, what, Steve, go ahead.
Yeah, always looking for ideas on how to scale that. Obviously, the mid market is a large monster of a number of customers and how to manage that. But we're always looking for ideas. I think the promotions hopefully help some. and we're always looking for other ways, maybe through possible future incentives.
Yeah, Chris Lane, just talk a little bit about MTech, the Mailers Technical Advisory Committee that I know you're a part of, I'm a part of, and how USPS really does listen. I know that industry sometimes feels that, hey, you know, there's USPS at headquarters going off on their own direction, but I can tell you folks from being inside the room, that is not the case. There are folks like Steve and many others who are passionate, committed public servants that are really here to help us grow our businesses. Chris, do you agree, disagree?
Absolutely. No, absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, MTAC has existed since the 60s. It was formed under the John F. Kennedy administration. MTAC is an opportunity for your voice through industry associations to have a conversation with the Postal Service. We meet quarterly at Postal headquarters. We talk about all things with mail preparation and including promotions and incentives and stuff. So a lot of what you saw today is the result of the collaboration between the industry and the Postal Service, again, in the spirit of taking advantage of this important vehicle that we have, the United States Postal Service, and the power that mail has to connect, bind, and relate to the public. So MTAC is fantastic. It's great, and that's you know, I enjoy going there every single time.
And Chris, you were at the first MTAC, is that right?
No, I wasn't.
All right, Don is saying, I appreciate all the knowledge on this team, and I love these presentations. They are so helpful and insightful. Thank you for all your help in these areas of U.S. promotions and USPS information. Don, thank you for giving us that feedback. Dan is asking you, Steve, if they enroll, they have until June 30th to complete registration, correct? Do we need to click registration assistance to get the June date, or is registering enough to get you until June 30th to confirm baseline?
So I just put in the chat, simply get the registration in the system.
There you go. Dan,
Yep.
Let us know if that answered.
Now,
Kevin is
obviously, obviously it takes a little bit of time if you're going to need assistance. So don't wait until June 30th to ask for assistance, because June 30th is the date we have to come to an agreement. If there's no agreement on July 1st at June 30th at midnight, that registration will be canceled. So
Kevin
give yourself time.
Yes, absolutely. Kevin is saying management is a challenge for MSPs too. I imagine you mean management of the program. Is that what you mean, Kevin? But growth over model on baseline volume could scale if automated for the mid-market. Kevin, tell us a little bit more about that. Chris and I, obviously, with our software and automation ears, are always perking up when we hear that there's a problem that automation can help with. Jesse saying, Chris, what would you say to someone using AccuZip who's considering BCC? Chris, maybe you can follow up with Jesse offline on that. Does that sound good?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Okay. Stephen, simply get the registration in the system. Dan Brown saying thank you. All right, folks. Well, I've held you over here. Hopefully you've gotten a lot of value out of this. Give some X's and O's to Kim, to AJ, to Chris, to Steve in the chat. Of course, thank you to the Silvamo team, the Mindfire team, everybody who's put the event on today. We really appreciate everyone's help, but most importantly, we thank you for being here, spending time with us, and investing in making direct mail the channel that it deserves to be, and bringing these new ways of thinking about mail and the engagement that mail can provide to you and to your customers to the forefront of everyone's mind. So thank you all for spending time with us today, and we'll see you at the next event, everyone. Thank you. Have a great rest of your day.